Is this a Hollywood fairy tale or just a massive money pump? Wrexham have gone from the lower leagues to possibly going in the Prem this league, despite many people doubting that.
When will Wrexham reach the Premier League? Never.
Bruh. But they've been getting under constant controversy, and obviously the Wrexham fans love them for what they've done to their club. Can they go from the National League all the way to the Premier League, and will it happen this year? And have they sold their shares now, and do they even still own Wrexham? Some of the questions people have.
It's not really a Hollywood story anymore, isn't it? Because they've sold a lot of their shareholding to Apex. I still think it's ridiculous that Wrexham have got this huge valuation of about 500 million quid, got cash injections from major financiers, and have got...
So it's back in 2020 now that they was announced as potential investors after approaching the Wrexham Supporters Trust, which had owned the club since 2011. They pitched their vision of global growth, new investment and a training facility, and beating the rivals Chester. 16th November 2020, the members vote overwhelmingly 98.6% to approve the takeover. The club at the time is in the National League 5th tier, struggling post-COVID with limited resources. 9th of February 2021, the takeover officially completes with 2 million of funding commitment and total early injections of around 2 to 2.2 million in equity, immediate 50,000 invested into the women's team, and architects were appointed for the Racecourse ground redevelopment work starting that summer 2021. On their professional era, they got Phil Parkinson as a manager. They missed out on the National League playoffs after a final day draw against Dagenham and Redbridge. The owners attend their first match, a 3-2 loss to Maidenhead, and they end up finishing second in the National League but lose their playoff final to Grimsby Town 5-4 after extra time. They reach an FA Trophy final, lose 1-0 to Bromley, and early commercial buzz begins. The club was added to FIFA 22 as the first non-league team.
Wrexham AFC just lost $3.7 million, but Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney shouldn't be worried yet. You see, when the pair bought the Welsh Football Club in 2021 for $2.76 million, they understood that it would be an uphill battle. The Wrexham Red Dragons have been relegated from League One, which is 2 divisions below the Premier League, to the National League, which is 5 divisions below the Premier League. But now, in part thanks to a huge cash infusion by the two actors, the club is on the cusp of being promoted for the first time in over a decade. So why are they losing so much money? Well, they actually made over $7 million last year, a 404% increase over the $1.8 million the organization made the year prior. The largest portion of that revenue came from match day income, things like ticket sales and concessions, which accounted for $3.2 million in revenue, and merchandise and sponsorships each accounted for over $1 million apiece, with brands like TikTok and Expedia replacing a local trailer manufacturer as the team's main sponsor. Now, it's clear that Ryan and Rob wanted to make a splash when they bought the team, because they tripled the amount they paid in player wages and football costs last year. In rebuilding the team's roster, the actors spent almost $5 million, which is unheard of in a league where players' salaries average less than $50,000. The two also sunk millions in replacing the field and renovating the historic Racecourse ground, which was built in 1864. This resulted in season ticket sales tripling and average attendance booming to almost 10,000 people per game in the 10,500 seat stadium. And now Ryan Reynolds is poised to spend even more money on the club after selling his company Mint Mobile to T-Mobile for $1.35 billion. In fact, after this news, Wrexham's odds to sign English legend and Tottenham Hotspur's forward Harry Kane jumped to 28-1. Crazy for a club that was in $5 million worth of debt and completely irrelevant just a few years ago.
24th of August 2022, welcome to Wrexham Season 1 premieres on Disney. The 18 episodes, and it becomes a global marketing phenomenon, boosting sponsorships, merch and international fans. The Instagram followers grow from 41,000 straight up to 1.5 million. 2nd of April 2023, they clinch a National League title and promotion to the EFL League 2 for a 3-1 win over Boreham Wood, a record 111 points and the first league title in 45 years. They had a strong FA Cup run, beat Coventry, drew 3-3 to Sheffield United, and it was highly watched globally. They was knocked out in a replay. They then began planning approval for the new Kop stand at the Racecourse ground. The revenue jumped significantly from 1.1 million pre-takeover to 10.4 to 13.8 million. The owners inject 12 million in total funding by the end of this period, a mix of equity and interest-bearing loans.
You guys are doing ownership right. Like I would imagine the fans love this because it's revived this franchise.
I spent a lot of time in the very beginning talking to a few owners who I'm friends with. Jeffrey Lurie, who owns the Eagles, just to ask him. But most importantly, I spoke to all my friends who are either pro athletes or ex-pro athletes to ask them what kind of relationship they would want to have with the owners, if at all. Mm-hmm. And so I did my research, and you know, it's kind of great that we don't know anything about football. I'll call it soccer because this is
please do.
Stuff.
Or waste.
We don't know anything about soccer. We don't know anything about professional sports, to be honest with you, other than I like watching it. So we can't. There's no reason for us to be in the locker room. There's no reason for us to be talking about strategy. We can just be friends with the players and the families, and then we just invest in the manager and in the executives to make sure that they're all making the right decisions, and then we're just fans.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a perfect situation because we're not involved in any football operations. We're not involved in any of their deal making. We approve the budget, but at the end of the day, if a player isn't moving on with us, that's not my call. So it allows us to become really good friends with players.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They ended up getting, after this, back-to-back promotions. The 2023 to 2024 season in League 2, the 13th of April 2024, they sealed a promotion to League 1 with a 6-0 win over Forest Green Rovers. They finished second behind Stockport County. In April 2024, a Mexican club actually buys a 5% stake in Wrexham. This was a sale of a minority stake in the club. The partnership will expand the global reach. The revenues reached 26 million, a record for a League 2 club. The academy gains Category 4, then Category 3 EFL status. August 2024, Wrexham joins the European Club Association, and welcome to Wrexham Season 2 in 2023 and Season 4 in 2024 with 8 episodes, continues documenting the ride. In the 24-25 season in League 1, they managed to get promotion to the Championship. They secured a 3-0 win over Charlton Athletic, finished second, historic 3 straight promotions, the first for any English club in the top 5 tier.
When will Wrexham reach the Premier League?
Never.
Bruh, never. I will disagree. I will give them 3 to 4 years maybe in the Championship, and then they'll make the Premier League.
If they make it within 5 years, I'll give £1,000 to any charity that we choose.
Nigel, you matching that?
I'm going to do that.
There you
I
go.
agree to that.
A safe bet would be 5 years' time, 4 years' time. I think Championship's tougher than people think.
Told y'all.
Troy said never.
Troy said never.
It's possible.
Record 33.3 million in revenue. Their wage bill went up to 19 million, and they operated losses of 14 million, reflecting heavy investment in the squad. Losses under ownership exceeded 33 million, but the owners and shareholder loans were later repaid. In late 2024, the Allen family acquires a 15% stake in the club that was valued at 100 million at the time. By late 2025, Apollo Sports Capital takes a minority stake of 10%, enabling full repayment of the owners' loans, and some valuations reach 450 to 500 million, or higher estimates. The stadium expansion plans advances, aiming for 18 to 28,000 capacity with the new stand. The Welcome to Wrexham Season 4 premieres on May 2025.
It's not really a Hollywood story anymore, isn't it? Because they've sold a lot of their shareholding to Apex. I still think it's ridiculous that Wrexham have got this huge valuation of about 500 million quid, got cash injections from major financiers, and have got an 18 million pound grant from the Welsh Council to build a stadium. That don't seem right, does it? But the fact is they have. I went early 2-3 years ago when they turned around and said it was existential if we didn't get promoted for £1 million. What? How much are you guys worth? You guys are worth 500 million. You're going to come out with that load of old pony. It's not existential. You just might have to put your hands in your pocket. So you opened up a line of scenarios, which was me saying, well, when it gets hot in the kitchen, we've got to write some proper checks to see if you're there. But they haven't got to write out proper checks. People are valuing Wrexham at 500 million quid. That's a valuation. Ask Stephen Balson when he comes in what the valuation of Wrexham is. It's beyond the pale. Yeah. That's why I go, why are the Welsh Council gifting them 800 million quid to build a stadium?
We're now in the 25 to 26 season, and Wrexham are competing in the second tier for the first time since 1981 to the 82 season. It's wild because once they had actually come up from League 1 to the Championship, many people was predicting it would be hard for them and he wouldn't survive. It's a very tough league to get promoted in.
How do Wrexham compete in the Championship next year?
When we arrived at League 1, I said to Rob and Ryan, I said, this is a really difficult league. I knew the guys at Huddersfield. I knew the former manager at Barnsley, and I knew how difficult it was and the risk of getting stuck in League 1, honestly, because it is a difficult league to get out of. But I told Rob and Ryan, I said, listen, we have momentum, we have the confidence, and we have some continuity. So we could just get stuck here or we could go for it. And in fact, you saw in season 4 that one of the first episodes, early episodes that talked about this meeting where I presented to them what the strategy was and what the cost was going to be, and they said, let's go all in. I believe it was another podcast, the Fearless and Devotion guys, that said, oh, well, obviously that's that meeting never actually happened. A couple months before, they would never be deciding on a strategy about what to do. They would have planned that years in advance. Well, that meeting happened. That was a real meeting. And I remember what Rob said after it was a lot of silence actually when I shared some of the numbers and graphs, and Rob and Ryan was on the phone on a video call, and he was in a hotel room at the time, and there's less silence and kind of uneasiness. And I'm like, oh, I'm a few months into my job here. I'm like, oh, I better I might get my CV refreshed very quickly again, and maybe overstep that one. But they then Rob said, listen, I believe in people, and I believe in Phil, and the team that we have here, and the people around him, and obviously, Michael, we believe in you as well. That's why we brought you in. So, I don't want to speak for Ryan, but I think we should go for it. And Ryan responded, "Let's go." And that meeting was real. It was raw. It was organic. It happened. And that's the kind of the American mentality that they bring, and Canadian American mentality that they bring. It's like
both these comments are crazy because one person got it completely wrong and one person might have hit the nail on the head. First one says they're going straight back down with a laughing face. The other guy said, I'm predicting Wrexham finish just outside the playoffs personally, which is possible. Like many clubs over the years, Roman Abramovich is a perfect example because they've had such an injection of money. Many people criticizing them, saying this is not no fairy tale of the two Hollywood actors navigating football. It's just the money of them outspending everyone league to league that they go through.
So what's the deal with Wrexham then? Is it still a fairy tale, or have they citied their way through the leagues? In my opinion, I'd still say it's a fairy tale because it's a fairy tale for that community. Given the fact that Wrexham have had a major cash injection in the last few years from Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, I can see why people would think that they're significantly richer than the clubs that are around them. And I can even see why some people have been saying that the first two promotions weren't that impressive. However, if you seriously think that money is the only reason they're doing what they're doing, then I think you need a bit of a reality check, because a billionaire in itself doesn't mean anything for a football club. Some billionaires own football clubs and run them terribly. Look at Manchester United or Chelsea, for example. Not all owners know how to run a football club effectively, but Rob and Ryan have grown the revenue of Wrexham really smartly. Yes, they've leveraged their publicity to do that, but they've done it well. It's also not as much of a fairy tale as some people would assume, because in the year up to June 2024, Wrexham was still making a loss. But 52% of their income, which is a club record income, by the way, coming from overseas is a pretty positive sign for the club's financial statements to come. Also, League One is not all Wrexham. Birmingham City spent more than them, and you've also got other clubs like Huddersfield and Bolton and Wickham, all spending tons of money. League One's overall spend for this campaign topped 43 million, which is a record for the league. It's actually more than the previous 8 seasons combined. Yes, Wrexham have spent a lot as well, but they've not done anything outrageous in comparative to their revenue. And things are going to change now that they're in the Championship anyway, because they won't be able to blow teams away financially at all. In fact, in the last couple of years, they've been renting training facilities and driving to and from the racecourse. And you can kind of get away with that in League One and League Two. Some of the clubs are making ends meet as well. But in the Championship, that's not really a done thing. So they might have trouble signing new players from now on when other clubs can offer them better facilities. So at Wrexham, things are not as much of a fairy tale as they may seem from the outside. But I think that for the people of Wrexham, for whom this has made a massive difference to the economy and to the football club, this is a bit of a dream come true. And I think if you're hating on it, you just kind of wish that your owners were doing the same.
As of early 2026, they sit in a playoff contention around 6th or 7th at this point of this video, and there is heavy summer spending. They try to focus on sustainability and the infrastructure of the club. The new COP stand funding via minority investments. It marks 5 years of club ownership, and the club value has multiplied dramatically from 2 million to estimates of at least 350 million, and we've seen even higher numbers floating around. 23 to 28x since turnover.
It's been 5 years since Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney took over the club. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well have they done in that time?
10. Simple 10. Because they've gone from division to division to division. Yeah. Next year, they'll go to the Premier League. End of this year, we'll be in the playoffs. In the Premier League, no other club has ever done that. So that's where we're going to be.
Easily 10.
I was going to go 1.
Oh,
10. I go 10. Unreal.
It's just changed everything. Yeah. The club, the club's got better. The club's grown, in since 5 years from where we were to now where we are. It's a massive, massive change, which is great for the club. I think they're not finished though. That's a trouble. They've had 3 promotions. The next one is the Premier League, and I think that's what they want more now.
It's had to be 10.
I think we've overdone everyone's expectations, and even all of us. Well, we never expected this. If you told me 5 years from now that we'd be in the Championship, in the playoffs for the Premier League, I just wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
At all. No, it's unbelievable to be fair.
Season 5 premieres May 2026 with renewals announced through to the season 8 in 2029. The series has won multiple Emmys and remains central to the brand without direct club revenue. Even though they have a chance, they're near the playoff spots as I'm making this video, people are saying it might not be the best thing for them to get promoted right now. They've only just gone up to the championship. It's their first season there.
Wrexham are back in the championship playoff places. But would a 4th consecutive promotion actually be a good thing for them right now? They were 4 points outside the top 6 just days ago after heavy defeats, including a 5-1 loss to Southampton, but back-to-back wins have turned it around, and now they sit 6th on 70 points. In the EFL Championship, the top 2 go up automatically, and places 3 until 6 go into playoffs for that final promotion spot. If they go up, the jump is huge. The Premier League is faster and way more demanding than the Championship, but with promotion comes hundreds of millions of pounds in TV money. They've got just 2 games left, and their final fixture is against Middlesbrough, who currently sit 1 place above them in 5th. Wrexham's rise under Phil Parkinson happened fast. Maybe even too fast. And we've seen it before. Ipswich went up the Premier League in back-to-back seasons in 2024, but came straight back down again. So are Wrexham ready for the next step up, or is it still too soon?
While they don't directly earn from the documentary itself, is credited with boosting the club's revenue from 1.8 million in commercial income to 13.1 million in one season alone. The show has propelled Wrexham's popularity, with 50% of the club's turnover now generated outside of the UK, with people buying shirts abroad. The documentary has helped secure high-profile sponsors like United Airlines, TikTok and HP. The club's overall annual revenue has grown from that 1.8 million in 2021 to 43 million in 2025. I do think Wrexham, the brand and the people behind it now, could secure more investment to make their Premier League sustainability more likely. We all know how hard it is. You come up, you go down, and growing in revenues and being ready for it in the Championship over a couple of seasons may be better. Obviously, they're going to try and do it as soon as possible.
So from a financial perspective, I don't see this necessarily going south. The only question comes in is the different levels of changes, right? First, you have to consider stadium size. I think that's something that needs an upgrade. Scouting teams will change. Training grounds and facilities need upgrading. And not only that, but the youth academy itself to a full-on Category 1 program. So from level to level to level, it's going to be hard. However, when you look at the owners, right, the people that are running the show, those guys, I think they have the means to be able to do it. Not only the means to do it, but I think they have the support from outside sources to be able to make it happen. Now, will Wrexham win the Prem? I don't know. I mean, I think it's a giant leap when you talk about, when you get into the Premier League. It's like, I mean, the fact that they snuck in is the thing, right? Like, beyond that, I think whatever else happens, minus them maybe going down a level, which is obviously not what they want, but just getting there is the goal.
Regardless, this has been a wild journey, and the owners have built something amazing with a club with a lot of history, and also documenting the process as well has made it very beneficial for them as well with their Disney deal that they've now got. And people are actually suggesting they got more chance of winning the Premier League anytime soon than someone like Tottenham has.
I would say Wrexham have got a better chance of winning the Premier League before Spurs. At this moment in time, it's the most logical thing in the world. And people will say, well, how's that going to happen? They're in the National League and Spurs are in the Premier League. Well, look, National League, League 2, League 1, Premier League. 4 years they'll be in the Premier League, in my opinion. The shortest period. At some point in the next 5, 6, 7 years they'll be in the Premier League. Do you think Spurs are going to win the league in the next 4 or 5 years? I don't. I really don't. Man City aren't going anywhere. United could be about to get wealth. Arsenal could win it this year. So I do think that Wrexham are on the way up. I do think that what Reynolds and the other guy has done is very clever and obviously, very heartfelt.
There is obviously now a bunch of mixed ownership around the club. They've taken investment to keep them going, but apparently the Hollywood actors still own around 70 to 75% of the club. And right now they are sitting in the playoff spots, and there's a chance they could be in the Premier League next season. If not, they will definitely get there at some point, I'm sure. It's crazy to think that they invested around 2 million back in 2021. That was their initial investment. They've taken some investment along the way from different groups that are involved now, but own still 75%, and recent valuations have suggested they could be worth anything from 150 million to 350 million. So they've made a huge return on it.
Ryan Reynolds, one of the best private equity investors in the world, well, he has just sold a share of Wrexham Football Club to Apollo Sports Group, and given that he originally bought a stake in the club when it was valued at around £2 million, and in the 5th tier of the English Football League. The company, so the club, Wrexham Football Club, is now worth, some people estimate to be almost £350 million. So obviously, as you can imagine, Ryan Reynolds is going to net an absolutely whopping profit if things continue the way that they're going. So given that Wrexham are now in the 2nd tier, you know, things are only looking up for the club. So what do you think? Will they sell the remaining stake, or will they hold on and try and get an even bigger price later down the line?